Hi there, I'm Matt Greer. I'm the music director at St. John's United Methodist Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I am here with a couple of friends to talk about the next concert on the St. John's Bach Project that's happening just in about a week's time. So let me introduce my friends who are involved in this concert with me. First, Amanda Talley, who is a fantastic oboist. Amanda is actually adjunct professor of oboe at UNM. She's second oboe in the New Mexico Philharmonic, and she is assistant program director at Classical 95.5 KHFM radio. And so she's playing first oboe on this concert, has some great stuff to play. And then there's my friend Michael Hix, who way back in the day kind of helped to start the St. John's Project with me and a couple of other people. Michael is our baritone soloist for the concert. He is professor of voice at UNM and chair of the music department at UNM. And it's so nice to be able to hang out with you people. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to be doing this concert together finally. When we first started the Bach Project back in 2013, we were doing them fairly regularly, like about, I don't know, 4 a year or something. And then, of course, everything got reevaluated after lockdown. But we've been bringing it back slowly but surely. And we are going to do 2 fantastic cantatas on Thursday, the 29th of August, 7 o'clock at St. John's United Methodist Church. We've got a chamber chorus, we've got a smoke and chamber orchestra, we've got great soloists, and we've got great music. So you guys are here because you love doing Bach. And is that a true statement for both of you?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. So I'm just curious to know if you'll share your stories, I will share mine also. As a singer and as an oboist, what do you remember as being your first encounter that kind of turned you on to Bach, either as a listener or as a performer? Amanda, you go first.
Sure. Actually, it was the cantatas, 12, 156, those big ones for oboe. We learned them very early on in our trajectories as oboists, and you can really tell how much Bach loved the oboe, and we can tell when we play it, and that brings us a lot of joy, for sure.
So for you, it was encountering actually playing them as repertoire.
Yes. I'm not from a family of musicians, so I was introduced to things as I was learning them, essentially. So yes, perhaps maybe not until I was about 16 when I started performing more serious soloistic work for the oboe did I know about all of these wonderful cantatas and how many there are. There's so many.
Yeah, awesome. Michael?
Well, I played the prelude in C major on a piano recital when my mom was my piano teacher growing up. But I wasn't very great pianist, and I didn't practice it very well. And it just struck me as being difficult. But when I got to college my freshman year, we did the Bach Christmas Oratorio in English, not in German, in an English translation. My very first year with full orchestra and a huge chorus of about 100 students at Furman University, and it just rocked my face off. So
literally,
yeah, you're without face.
So it was that was a fantastic introduction to Bach.
Huh. I think, well, yeah, I was made to take piano lessons as a child also. And then later in college, I remember having to work the D minor 2-part invention really hard and just, kind of doing it very dutifully. And then but I also remember that also in college, I was introduced to the Glenn Gould recordings of the Goldberg Variations. And I just played that second recording of his over and over and over. But for me, the introduction to the cantatas, which is what we're here doing, happened in my junior year of college in a forms and analysis class. We had to write, as a culminating project, we had to write a 10-page paper on a piece that we chose that we really loved and wanted to talk about. And I wanted to write my 10-page paper analyzing the Britain War Requiem. And my professor suggested that maybe that was a little ambitious for a 10-page paper. And he said, "Do you know any Bach cantatas?" And I said, "No. I mean, but that sounds really, really boring." And he said, "Well, I'm going to assign you one." And so he assigned me to write a paper on Cantata 140 Bach et Alf, which is, is now that is my favorite Bach cantata. And it absolutely blew my mind. Number one, because I really thought Bach was supposed to be boring. And I think that for a lot of, for a lot of people who don't necessarily know the entire breadth of his work, that's something that we fight against in performing it and in introducing it. And I was confronted with this piece that was so joyful and so intricate and so masterful and also just so lovely and emotional, and I had never ever experienced that in Bach's music before. And so that made me super interested in exploring more of like the choral orchestral stuff. And as we've been doing the St. John's Bach Project, of course, the cantatas are what we're doing. And by the way, do you guys have a St. John's Bach Project coffee mug that you're drinking from today?
I don't.
I think mine broke. I need a new one.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll give you one next week because they're
fantastic.
The best. Amanda Talley, maybe you have to play 20 concerts before you get a
whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
Well, do a good job this week, and we'll give you a mug, or we'll sell you a mug at a discount. One of the two.
No pressure.
So I'm also interested to know, because I'm just going to be waving my arms and trying to get the chorus ready and the instruments comfortable. As an instrumentalist, especially as an oboist, I guess, Amanda, what is it that's particularly challenging about this music that is different or similar to other repertoire that you encounter as an orchestral player or a solo player?
Sure. Great question. As we know, several truths can exist at once. And as much joy as Bach brings me, it is equal in terms of challenge as well. It is extremely taxing to play the aria movements for oboe. And it takes a very particular kind of reed to support what you want to do musically throughout those arias. And although I think, for example, is it 102? It's only 4.5 minutes or so, but it is a very long 4.5 minutes.
Kind of relentless for you, isn't it?
Yes, relentless, but in the best musical ways. And that's really where the duality comes from. We're very lucky that Bach had two exceptional oboists that he could often experiment with and test his writings. And he was also, which is something I really appreciate, his oboe writing developed as the instrument developed as well, which from my experience is perhaps a rarity in terms of oboe writing because of, all the different stages it's been through over hundreds of years. And so the fact that he had access to good oboists of the time who were up to speed on the developments and things like that, he was able to continue to adjust his writing. So it's particularly exciting for me to do a cantata performance with 39 and 102 because you can hear really the differences of his transitions and writing for the oboe between both.
And this is kind of, for serious oboists, this is bread and butter repertoire, isn't it? Some of these cantata aria movements.
Yes. As mentioned, 12, 156, 21, I believe are standards. They are almost expected to be in your repertoire. However, I am particularly excited. I have never performed 39 or 102. So this is a first. And I really see that it's only through projects like this that even someone who does know a lot of Bach gets an opportunity to play new Bach. And so that is very exciting and terrifying. Both truths are accurate.
Both truths at the same time. Yeah. And Michael, I mean, you've sung a lot of Bach. We've done a lot of Bach together. What are the particular challenges for a solo singer in these kind of textures with small groups of instruments, et cetera?
Yeah, I loved what Amanda said about there being like opposites of very like extreme difficulty, but also just joy and beauty. And that really resonated with me. It's the challenge is so rewarding. It's really, and it's at first glance, it sometimes box writing feels instrumental and you don't feel like you necessarily have a place to breathe. It's especially at this altitude. It like it would work on a violin, but with lungs, in the wind instruments or for voice, it sometimes becomes problematic. So that's definitely a challenge. But the beautiful vocal lines that are written and just how elegant they are is just so rewarding, so beautiful. It's just such a joy. Any cantata I get to perform. And yeah, same as Amanda, I haven't performed either of these.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's something I was actually going to ask about, because I think among singers, my experience in singing some of the choral orchestral rep, being a chorister in the Magnificat or the B minor mass or some of that great stuff. Some of the rep that Bach gets about singers is that it is basically instrumental writing with words attached to it. And do you think that's true? I mean, that in looking at these two cantatas that we're doing, and particularly looking at the recits and arias that the soloists have, I think the setting of the text is so masterful and is really vocal. I mean, it's really beautiful vocal writing, even though a lot of people think his writing, the two could be kind of interchangeable. He treats voices like instruments. Do you think that's true, or is it kind of a bad rap that he gets?
I think it's a bad rap. They're definitely, I think within the choral textures, there are times when the voices are functioning like instruments. Mm-hmm. But in all of the solo repertoire, such care and attention to detail is considered, and it just takes work. It takes practice and investment in understanding this style of music, understanding this approach. It's because it's not Puccini and it's not Mozart. It's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to play one of the choruses, one of the opening choruses of the two cantatas that we're doing. This is the opening chorus of 102, and I think shows off not only the great writing for the chorus, and we've got some wonderful singers that we've assembled to do these two cantatas. It also shows off the soloists a little bit and the texture with two oboes and all the strings and continuo organ and all of that. And this is the first movement of 102. This is the Netherlands Bach Society. And who's conducting this, Michael? Because you've sung for him.
Jos van Veldhoven.
Okay, so we're going to hear the first movement of 102. I didn't realize there weren't subtitles. So if you've just watched that entire thing and wondered, if you're not up on your German and wondered what they were singing about, this is actually one of those cantatas, the purpose of which is to strike fear into the hearts of worshipers so that they will change their evil ways and not end up going to hell. And the text of that chorus from Jeremiah is, Lord, your eyes look for faith. You strike them, but they do not feel it. You plague them, but they do not improve. Their countenance is harder than a rock, and they will not turn themselves around. So we will try to be scary in our performance on Thursday night, in addition to being scared ourselves, possibly. Any thoughts about that performance? And Amanda, I guess I'm especially curious about, are those early music oboes that they were playing?
Yes.
What's the difference? What's changed?
Oh, so many things. The biggest shift is, of course, the reeds and the pitch center of the instruments. There's a recurring joke that the reason the oboe gives the A is because the oboe could not tune itself, so everybody better tune to the oboe. But, that's not quite accurate these days. No,
that's not funny at all. And Michael, any thoughts about the voices, tempo?
Yeah. I liked the size of this chorus. I think 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there was this idea that Bach sounded best with a giant chorus, like I described, of 100 people singing the St. Matthew Passion or one of these cantatas. But if you go to the Thomaskirche in Leipzig, there's not room in the choir area for 120 singers. So this smaller group of basically 4 singers per section with the soloist. Right. The soloist is also in the chorus. I love that because it really is the perfect balance between the instruments and the vocalists. And then it just really, if you want to have a faster tempo that really dances, you can do that. I love the size and the attention to detail of this historically informed performance.
I mean, my main thing about this music is that it really does need to dance. And I just, if you go back and listen to some of those recordings from the 50s and 60s, just think about how the idea of Messiah has changed over the last several decades. I always say there are Messiah performances that started in the 1950s that are still going on because they are so slow. Yeah. So having a really kind of nimble group of singers like that to match the number of instruments, I think is absolutely the way to go and to keep it dancing. So I guess we'll try and do that.
Yeah. Plan that.
Any other thoughts before we wrap up, friends?
Well, I wanted to point out that both of these cantatas are kind of interesting, and then they are 2-part cantatas. It's divided. So it's like part 1 and then part 2. And typically there'd be a sermon between part 1 and part 2. So are you preaching?
I think I'm going to have enough on my mind. If either of you have anything that you want to say in between part 1 and part 2.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can throw in a whole sermon.
Welcome to do so. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we haven't had time to touch on is just the context of these cantatas, right? And that this is really one of the most amazing achievements, I think, in the history of certainly Western music, is this idea that for every Sunday liturgy, there should be a new piece that helps to illustrate what's going on. And so there are these 300 surviving cantatas that we know of. It's just extraordinary. And it is so much fun. I will say, in planning for this one, 39 has been on my list for a long time because I was in the chorus many, many years ago, and I just remembered it being just really powerful and delightful also. And so I wanted to do that one for a long time. And then just looking at the instrumentation of that and what would kind of match up is what led me to 102, which I also didn't know. And I just thought, man, what a fantastic piece. So we've got 2 flutes, 2 oboes, strings continuo in 39, 1 flute, 2 oboes, strings continuo in 102. And great solo stuff for the solo singers and great big complicated choruses for the chorus to dig into. So yeah, I'm excited, and I think it's going to be great. This is what we're here talking about, friends. This is the St. John's Bach Project. Next Thursday night, August 29th at 7:00, it will also be available by live stream, and there is no admission charge, but you are encouraged to give generously. So friends, Michael, Amanda, thank you so much for being with me to talk about this music. I'm going to let you go because you should both go practice.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you both soon. Take care. Bye. Okay.